Hello everybody, I'm with Jonas Moberg. He's the CEO of Green Hydrogen Organization. Is it right, Jonas?
Yes.
Yeah. So nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. We are in COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, and one of the important aspects of decarbonization, one of the important aspects of decarbonization is using hydrogen, actually green hydrogen. I wanted first to ask Younes, what is Green Hydrogen Organization? Could you please explain for us why it was founded and what is the purpose of it?
Thank you very much. The Green Hydrogen Organization is a global international foundation to support accelerated production and use of large-scale renewable hydrogen. And just to remind everyone of what that is, you take renewable energy, solar, wind, hydropower, you turn that electricity through electrolysis into hydrogen. You essentially split the water, and then you have a fuel, hydrogen, that you can turn into ammonia, to a number of other fuels and use.
That's a green hydrogen.
Correct.
But we have here terms like gray or brown hydrogen.
Yes.
Yes, and blue hydrogen. Could you please also explain for us?
Gray hydrogen is when you take a step back. There are essentially two ways to produce hydrogen. It is through reformation of gas or even coal, or, as I've just explained, through electrolysis, splitting water. Now, if you take something carbon intensive, like a gas, like methane, and you split it, you essentially, one of the things you get is hydrogen.
Yeah.
Today, the world uses nearly 100 million tons of hydrogen. Almost all of that is gray hydrogen. Gray hydrogen comes with huge CO2 emissions. For each kilo hydrogen, you have something like 15 kilos of CO2 emissions. Blue hydrogen is when you take gray hydrogen, so gas, you steam reform it, you have a release of the hydrogen, then you have a release of the CO2, and you store that CO2 through carbon and capture.
Yeah, carbon capture
and storage. Then you have blue hydrogen.
Jonas, I have heard that the guys who who like the blue hydrogen, they say we do carbon capture, and then we prohibit the methane leakage. But there was discussion in this Global Renewables Hub a few days ago that how much, if they stop or prohibit methane leakage or they do carbon capture, how much they should do that we call it blue hydrogen? Or is there any standard, or could you please explain for us the definition or a standard for blue hydrogen? And what's your organization like about it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. We have defined green hydrogen, and we do a lot of work in this very topic of also blue hydrogen, because the oil and gas industry that hopes to produce a lot of blue hydrogen have not defined the limits for it. There are a couple of companies that have done that. And
you have said about BPS?
Yes.
That's the definition for it.
Correct. So there are companies that have said that for blue hydrogen to be 1.5 degree aligned, it has to have a carbon capture, it has to have very low methane leakage, and it has to have a very high capturing rate of the carbons.
And you said that there is also the standardization is under the procedure for ISO standard, yeah?
That's correct. There is an ISO standard for hydrogen that is being finalized, and we don't know yet what it looks like, but some of the early language has suggested that it would lend credibility to a lot of hydrogen that is also not so low carbon.
And you said IPHE is writing that standard.
That's, well, the IPHE, which is this multilateral collaboration, has been working on methodologies for calculating the associated emissions for a very long time. And then ISO is in effect taking the IPHE methodology, planning to turn it into an ISO standard.
Jonas, we have heard or we have read about a letter that Global Hydrogen Organization and Environment Defense Fund wrote to the leaders, and it was announced in COP29. Could you please explain very short what was that and what's your purpose for that?
So we have essentially got together to call for robust standards here, to make sure that if blue hydrogen is done, it's done properly, to make sure that if, take the methane issue, which is one of the key things of the letter. Look at the Google satellite methane, and you can see where it leaks around the world. And it's leaking very badly in Russia, Algeria, Iran is not doing well, parts of the US are not doing well. Look at Norway. There is virtually no leakage.
Really?
Why? It's not allowed. Equinor now has a leakage rate of 0.02%, whereas in some other countries, towards 10% of all the gas that is pumped just goes up into the air, and it's very, very damaging.
And Jonas, now it's 2024. And there are some targets to 2030, like triple the renewable energy. Is there any target for hydrogen or green hydrogen, or do you see some target for green hydrogen? You said previously that now we have like 100 million ton gray hydrogen production and some blue hydrogen, but 300,000 of tons of green hydrogen. Is there any target for the future?
There aren't any formally adopted targets by the world's governments or so, but our organization, for example, have said that the target should be 100 million tons by 2030.
100 million tons of green hydrogen?
Correct.
By 2030. And okay, so thank you for your time. We hope also that we get that target. And I see a lot of countries like Oman. They have 8 very big hydrogen projects, green hydrogen projects. So and Australia.
So that's very good, and we hope that they will go to the next phase.
Just the last one. Which countries are in the front for green hydrogen?
China, India, and to some extent the US.
France, maybe?
Not so
some
much.
Pilot projects.
Yeah.
And maybe Oman and Middle East? What about Middle East? Saudi Arabia?
But there's still a long way for a number of those projects as well.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jonas.